breaking news from KSBW Action News 8.
We are back again covering the fire at the Vistra Energy Storage Plant in Moss Landing. That fire continues to burn this afternoon.
We had a flare-up just after noon. A press conference is now underway. We're going to take you out there right now. Dawn Addis is speaking
with the CEO
right
of
now.
Vistra and working hand in glove with Supervisor Church. I want to thank the supervisor for the tremendous amount of work that he has been doing and that County Emergency Services has been doing to make sure that people are safe. Safety is of our utmost importance, and we are calling for this battery energy storage to stay offline. It is offline at the moment. We would like it to stay offline. We'd like a commitment that the battery energy storage is going to stay offline and that the community will get the information they need to let them know not that it is safer, but that it is completely safe, because we have heard that message before, and the community needs this assurance now before this plant ever comes back online. So I'll turn it over to the supervisor now. Thank you.
Thank you, Dawn. I'm Supervisor Glenn Church, District 2, which covers this area. Appreciate working with you and all our partners here in the county, and especially in North County and North County Fire, which has been the lead agency onto this. Quite aware that this is a technology of the future and is really important for how we go ahead in dealing with a whole range of issues, from climate change to other just way we move forward and sustainability. But the immediate concern here is 50,000 people that are within this area, maybe 100,000 people. You can consider the city of Watsonville within the area of this plume, because the winds can shift around back and forth. Our realizing that this is a $1 billion investment, I realize Vistra has put their best foot forward, I believe, in trying to make sure there's a safe and secure operation here. But the fact is that even with all that we know and the best that we've tried under regulatory processes, under a private enterprise process, we have this incident here. And in terms of putting forth a good faith effort for the community, which is very concerned about all the facilities and the operation of them here, I share the request from Assembly Member Addis that while this is offline now, that it not be turned back online until we really understand what the cause of this incident is. It would not be a good faith gesture to turn it on without having those answers, and that is our request is at this point, and we hope Vistra will accommodate with that, because we do need to know the answer. It's a safe thing to do. It's a proper thing to do.
Any questions? Can you confirm that it's batteries that are actually burning?
That's the pictures and everything we've seen, that's exactly what's going on.
Yes, so we had a briefing at Incident Command a couple of hours ago. We were able to see the footage, and yes, it was batteries that are burning. That's the footage that we were shown.
And the plan right now is just to let it burn itself out?
The plan with lithium ion is what we have been told, what we have been briefed on, is that the most safe thing to do with lithium ion is allow the fires to burn out. I don't want to speak for for any fire personnel that are here, but that's the briefing that we've been given.
If you have any questions, I would suggest you see Chief Joel Mendoza over here at North County Fire. He's of course the expert in this field.
Air quality?
Air quality information is coming out as we put it out, and as all of us get to know about them. I mean, there has been some monitoring. We addressed that this morning. I believe there is going to be, hopefully there'll be some more information put out at some point, but we don't have that information right in front of us, and that's not why we called forth onto this for an update on that.
EPA is monitoring air quality and they are putting out reports. That information is coming in minute by minute. You've seen the flames get bigger, you've seen them grow smaller, you've seen that smoke change in color and in size, and so that information is coming in minute by minute, and we're both getting those briefings. There will be more information forthcoming. What we have been briefed on is that what is known at the moment is that air quality is okay. However, the public has grave concerns, and so we need to be responsive to those concerns, and we have asked for extra information, additional information to make sure that the community is getting the information they need about air quality. And so that's minute by minute information that is coming in all the time. And as soon as our office has updates and as soon as the county has updates on any changes in air quality, then we will absolutely be sharing those across all of our channels.
And because of that uncertainty that I think we're all feeling at this point, this is why our concern is that when the fire does subside, that the rest of the facility cannot go online until we have some answers to some of the questions of what caused this.
You don't want this thing turned back on until you know precisely what caused the fire and how it's been corrected.
And how it will be prevented in the future. So we want it offline until we have, you know, the transparency, the accountability, and the prevention mechanisms in place. We cannot see another battery energy storage fire ever in the future in California, and we need to absolutely make sure that that never happens again here at Moss Landing. And we're looking for that commitment. We were told that this facility was safe. Clearly, there's issues here. We can never go back to those kinds of conversations. We have to go forward and know that this is never going to happen again in California.
I think Felix had a question there.
Are either of you hearing, because I know you've probably been briefed, but hearing anything in terms of why this fire seems to have flared up again?
Yes, so we were in a briefing with Incident Command, and as you know, different batteries start to catch on fire, we were told that that's where the flare-ups come from. So that it is expected that the fires will grow and that the flames will grow, the flames will get smaller. The hope is that they burn themselves out quickly so that this incident ends, we can get the information that we all need and be able to, you know, sort of move into prevention mode.
That said, could we see another cycle, flare down, flare back up? I mean, how long, if they have any idea how long this thing could be burning?
I'll have to defer to emergency personnel and to Vistra themselves in terms of what their expectations are moving forward. But I can share with you what we were briefed on.
And then maybe one last thing for Glenn, but yesterday you and I were talking, it had subsided, it seemed to be in the clear and contained to that area. Then it flared up again. Then we had the news conference. All apparently seems to be good. It's subsided. And now you see this plume of smoke and you probably saw the flames. What's your thought processes right now? What do you think? I mean, discouraged, disappointed? How are you feeling?
Well, I was briefed that it could flare up as Assemblymember Addis mentioned here. We've been told, you know, as batteries catch on fire, that could happen. It is disconcerting when you see them go that high. I'm sure it is for the public out there, but you know, we may see that happen again. We may not. It all depends on what the burn pattern is inside there. The bigger issue for me is this is continuing to burn. It's likely to continue to burn for some time, and I want us to get some answers before we start opening up the going online again with the battery facilities that are not burning.
Can you say that? I'm sorry. We have the drones. Sorry.
Evacuees, are they going to be allowed back in?
We're waiting on health and safety information to know the timeline on evacuees coming in, but we are both heading over to the evacuation center. Evacuees, a private visit to hear what they're going through, what their needs are after this presser.
So it will not be to them?
We can't say on that because we're not the ones that make the call We're not emergency officials. That's got to be decided by the emergency officials.
And there may be information forthcoming later today.
Yes.
Do you know how long it will burn for?
The information we have been given is that there is not a timeline. We have asked this question numerous times. I started asking yesterday, how long is this burn going to be for? What should we expect? And we have not been given that information.
Do you guys expect for more people to be evacuated? Do you guys expect for more people to be evacuated than, the amount of people that already are right now?
I have heard nothing along that line. I don't think.
Not at this time,
not at
unless
this time,
there's unless there's a change in the situation.
But still no time frame on when the evacuation order might be lifted.
There may be more information, forthcoming later today. At this moment, we haven't been given that information.
Sarah, you have a question?
And forgive me if I missed this. I'm sorry I was a little late. Is the PG&E plant next door still online and operating?
I believe it is.
That's our understanding.
So I'm could offer a little context because I feel like we're doing a replay of a fire at that plant from 2 years ago, and the reaction and the response I'm hearing from you as elected officials is incredibly different when it comes to pretty extraordinary measures, and will we even put it back online until there's some kind of extraordinary assurances? What makes this different in your minds from 2 years ago, and what are we learning today that's different than then that's causing what seems to be a much stronger response?
I think what thing is going to be different in terms of elected officials, at least with us, is that when this happened in 2022, I know I wasn't a supervisor. I don't think I don't know if you were elected at that point, and or not. But I think it's changing circumstances, and since that this is far worse than we saw in 2022, and that is what leading us.
Yeah, I think that. There's been 3 incidents here. There's been the PG&E incident. It's really time to put a stop to it and to take a breath and make sure that we can assure the public that they're safe. This incident does feel very different. It is a different configuration. The fire is different. There's a number of things that are different between that fire and this one. I'm not the technical expert, but I can say what we saw then and what we're seeing now are 2 different things. We both came in January 2023, so we want to make sure that moving forward, we're ensuring our constituents that we're going to do everything we can to make sure that they are safe.
And then I also just want to ask, I think more broadly zooming out about California's clean energy future, it seems like this is part of it, like this is what we as a state have committed to, and there's obviously dangers associated with nuclear power, with fossil fuel generated power. Broadly speaking, how does this align in your thinking with the risks associated that we all accept every day in just standard operating procedures?
We don't generally look for fires in 5 or 6 years at these other facilities, which is what we've had since 2019, 4 fires, and obviously one really, really major one at this point. So it's the questions and statements that were raised earlier today when I, at the first press conference, is that I did refer, this is the future. I mean, I referred to here today as well. And we want the future to be not this. We want it to be safe, we want it to be secure, and we want it to be effective. This is why we're trying to be extra cautious at this point and feel that this facility shouldn't go online until we have some answers.
And Sarah, it's a really good question. It's probably, one of the more important questions is how do we move into a clean energy future where we have major climate needs? We're watching fires burn in Southern California like we've never seen before. And what we know, though, is we cannot make the future even less safe as we are addressing our climate and energy needs. And so we have to be very thoughtful about this moving forward, and that's why we're asking for it to stay offline as we figure out what happens and make sure that we can, make local communities understand and feel and know that they are safe when we have these kinds of projects. I know you've had your hand up so long, so sorry.
I just have two questions. I know you said it was going to be offline, but is it going to be offline permanently?
Well, what we're requesting is that it be kept online until it can be offline. Thank you. That it can be kept offline until it can be guaranteed as safe.
And then how you feel, how you guys feel if you guys let the people down in this area? Can you guys elaborate on that?
I'm not sure if I quite follow the question. I mean,
County, how you feel about everything happening here?
well, I mean, this is why we're here. I'm concerned about my constituents that are in the unincorporated area directly to the east of this. This is why we're here. This is why we're making this request. This is why I earlier in the day said I feel that this event really needs a full investigation at all levels of government. If this is going to be the future of energy, we need to be proactive. We can't have a fifth fire. This is too much. This is a step too far.
And I'll just add, the way I feel is all in working with Supervisor Church, as I mentioned, working hand in glove to make sure that constituents are safe and that this never happens again. The aggregate count for evacuees, I believe it's 1,100, 1,200, right in that range.
It's somewhere between 1,000 and 1,500. I've heard both numbers.
But as I said, we're going to go to the evacuation center after we leave here for a private visit and a private conversation. We understand that it's a very sensitive time for evacuees. It's incredibly challenging to be out of one's home, and we need to hear directly from constituents about what their needs are and if they have any unmet needs, so that we can, see where we need to best fill in.
What about local impacts to ag operations? Because I know that's a question a lot of viewers have been asking. Have you guys heard anything? I reached out to the county. I know, obviously with the air and everything. Have you guys have any information?
We've had. There's been some discussions on that, but that question probably should go to the Ag Commissioner, if anyone, onto there, because I think that's still being evaluated at this point.
I've personally been in touch with both farm bureaus from Santa Cruz County and Monterey County to ask for their questions, ask what their needs are, ask how we can be a support. That's the information they've requested, and so right now our office is running down that information to get as much information as possible. I would say some of that information is still forthcoming as EPA is doing their monitoring. What we've been told at the moment is that things are safe, but we really need to see, the complete set of information before we could guarantee that.
I know the fire chief is not here. When they give you the briefing, did they indicate that there were any special challenges to fight that type of fire, given the fact that it's batteries that are on fire, not something you can spray water on?
Yeah, that's why I don't want to spray water on it, because
No, it's a great question. It's a great question, and I think it's a very important question, and it's the most safe thing to do that we've been told is to let it burn until it burns out. That's the special accommodation.
So have you directly made this request with Vistra, and what was the response you got?
I have directly asked Vistra, what is their timeline, what is their criteria, and the information is not as clear. I hope that after this presser, that information will be clarified and that they will come out with their own statement about exactly how they're going to handle this. But I have asked the direction directly, yes.
All right. Okay, well, thank you, everybody, for coming
here. Thank you.
All right. We are putting on Glenn Church, the supervisor, and Dawn Addis, who has come up from San Luis Obispo, the state assembly member who is in this district. They are on the air right now because we don't have firefighter. We don't have any of the people that are really working on it speaking right now. And they have apparently been briefed. So, the insight is basically the same as we've had since this began. This is going to burn for a while.
This is going to burn for a while. They are going to let this fire burn out. There are a lot of batteries. I think that, we
Oh, Vistra is going to talk. Terrific.
Okay.
Terrific. Mr. Watson from, I assume that's who it's going to be, from Vistra is going to speak at some point, we're told. Can we see it? There we go. Okay.
And he has been on scene.
I spoke with him at length this morning, and what he told me at the time was they have no plans to go back online. We'll see what right now and in the near future, we'll see what he has to say. But both Supervisor Church and Don Addis are asking them,
not to do that.
Yeah.
But a large section of this energy storage facility is
my name is Brad Watson.
Yeah.
BRADWATS.
So this is Brad Watson. He is with Vistra, based in Irving, Texas.
Vistra,
and let's listen in.
Operator of the Moss Landing power plant and energy storage facility.
Brad, you heard the request from county leaders, state leaders.
And the request was regarding.
They would like the plant to stay shut down offline until you know exactly what happened, why it happened, and then it will never happen again.
As I said this morning, when asked additionally, safety is Vistra's top priority. Safety is first. So we are focused on the current event right now at our site, cooperating with Chief Mendoza, Monterey County, and others to get that resolved. So that's what we are focused on right now. And also the safety of the people who live around the plant, who we are, again, sorry, have had their lives impacted by what happened last night and today. So we're really focused on that. Now, regarding this other question, whenever there is a time to get back on the site and evaluate beyond what has happened where the fire occurred, it's going to be with collaboration. Our company, as a hallmark of how we have operated regarding Moss Landing and the energy storage facility, has been collaborative. We started working with Chief Mendoza and Monterey County back in 2018 or 2019. We have worked with them continuously across the board with their various departments, both Monterey County, the California Energy Commission, CPUC, others. So we were going to work collaboratively. So whenever we get to determining what else happens at the rest of the site, we will follow what the regulations say, and we're going to inform everybody. We're going to inform everybody. Now, we're going to have to get back into that site and examine everything, because there have been other pieces of equipment that have been for a long period of time under heat or smoke, and we're going to have to evaluate their operational capability, safety, and so forth. So that process is going to take weeks. There's not going to be anything sudden about it. It will be methodical. There will be a process, and ultimately there will be a mutual agreement that those facilities are safe to return to operation, whenever that is. When we had other outages here, we did the same thing. We took our time. We learned about the condition of the equipment, and if improvements needed to be made, redesigned, equipment replaced, that's what we're going to pursue to make sure that we maintain that the facility is safe and the operations are safe in all ways.
Brad, let me ask this. So what's the status of your overall facility? Is part of it shut down? All of it shut down? Part of it still functioning online? What's the status?
My understanding is, of course, Chief Mendoza is the one who controls the site now, is that there was a time last night when the fire was advancing, and obviously Moss 300, which was the building on fire, wasn't in operation. So he determined that he needed to evacuate the site. We brought down the other two battery phases there, what we call MOS 100 for 100 megawatts, and MOS 350, which is 350 megawatts, and the natural gas plant. And so it takes a while to go through the process to safely bring them offline, which is what we did and what the condition is right now. They're all offline.
Are you concerned, this is the latest fire, not the only, but the latest one, since roughly 2018, if I have the years right, are you concerned that there could be a broader problem, whether it's systemic or something else?
Well, the chronology, at least for our site, is that we had two other events that were water related, with water getting on batteries. There was overheating. There weren't really fires, but there were situations where we had to come down, reassess the operations, understand what happened, redesign, make repairs, and put them back online. So that's what happened there. And then there was a fire that others sometimes can conflate at the next door PG&E Elkhorn battery facility, which is right next to our Moss Landing site. And that was in 2022. That was a separate deal. So those are the events that happened there. Regarding the use of utility scale battery storage in California, it works. It works because you have an overabundance of solar and wind during the day. That energy is lost if it isn't absorbed by utility scale batteries. You'll note that in 2024, there were no rolling blackouts. There wasn't a threat because there were some 10,000 megawatts of battery storage in California now to capture that renewable energy during the day. Now, technology has many benefits. Look at the cameras you're using, the phones we use every day, the cars we drive. Technology has many benefits in our lives that outweigh the risks. But I'll remind you that no technology is perfect.
Can you describe just the nature, and I'm sorry, I had colleagues here this morning, so they might know all this that I don't.
No worry.
But just, are we seeing kind of chain reaction happening? There are new flames in bloom, or is it mostly the building being consumed that's making these big flames visible across the
My understanding, those are batteries that continue to burn out, and again, this is Chief Mendoza's call. He has the site, and the strategy now is to let them burn out and become extinguished before we can get back in there, and that's going to be his choice as the safest process to go forward.
Does that mean basically the entire facility would be consumed before there's re-entry?
I don't know. I've seen pictures like you have or drone. I don't know what the condition is over there, but it's a concrete and steel building. It's been under flames for a day now, so it's going to be heavily damaged, if not destroyed. Yeah.
What is your response to, after everything is said and done, after you're all able to get in there, keeping this thing offline? Is that something that you guys are going to do?
We will go through an investigation to find out what happened. That's paramount. Find out what happened. Not only does it satisfy the search for truth in technology, but it is a way also that we'll share that so that others in the industry and the public can learn from this. There are a lot of academics who study renewable energy. We're getting better and better all the time. The technology that drove installations 10 years ago for battery storage are not the way they are now. The standards are improved. The regulations are better. We know a lot more about the technology, how it's used. So we'll get in there and find out what happened, like we've done in any other incident in our company, regardless of what kind of power generation facility it is. We'll get back in there and find out what it is and see what might be done, if anything. But as far as future use of it, we're focused on this today. Let's get it out, then we'll investigate, make other determinations at some other day.
Obviously, fire is a big risk. Will you be looking at technology to help prevent fires in a plant such as yours?
Always, always.
What does that mean?
Well, there are three pillars we stand on: prevention, detection, and mitigation. Prevention, to have the best equipment that we can, best designs, high quality. Then detection if something goes amiss, and then mitigation. How can you put it out? In this system, there was a water-based response system. We have to get in there and find out why it didn't operate perhaps as it was supposed to. Again, we don't know the cause of this, but we have to get in there and find and determine that. So yes, we have systems in all of these battery storage projects for any kind of anomalies that may happen. You had a question right here.
What is your message to the people in Monterey County? Monterey County and Santa Cruz County have been dealing with this for 24 hours.
I'm sorry, you're competing with a truck. I didn't hear that. Try one more time.
So what is your message for the people in Monterey County and Santa Cruz County that have been dealing with this for 24 hours?
Safety is our priority. We understand that what happened at our facility has disrupted their lives, and we're sorry for that. We're deeply sorry for that. We've been in this community for many, many years. This plant was built actually in the late 1940s. So through our predecessor companies and our company, we've been a good corporate citizen, called this place home for a long time. Our employees live in the area. So that our neighbors and our friends have had their lives disrupted like this, we are sorry. We are committed, I can tell you this, that we will find out what happened here and that we will be committed and dedicated to operate our facilities as safe as the best technology and human minds can make it.
And do you think this will affect power supply to any other areas in the peninsula?
That would be a question for your grid operator in California, California Independent System Operator on, running the grid. That's not what we do. We generate the power or store it and release it. Yeah.
Brad, I was wondering if you could elaborate about this water-based detection system.
Uh-huh.
It sounds a little vague. Can you? Sorry, I don't know what it looked like.
Yes. When MOS 300 was designed, and this goes back to 2018, we looked at what are the standards for a utility scale battery storage through the California Fire Code, International Fire Code, National Fire Protection Association 855, which is a standard for batteries like this. Underwriters Laboratory. We looked at all those standards. We started meeting with Chief Mendoza before really anything was done. Get your first responders in at the design level, all right, on the drafting board. So we worked through all that, and if we were going to put batteries in an existing building, the guidelines were that for the mitigation part of this, if there were an overheating detected, to put water through a nozzle into the back of each module that is in a rack. And that's the system that we designed. So if there is an overheating or a module goes into what's called thermal runaway, there would be a system that would find it and then inject water into that module to cool down whatever's overheating, but then also stop any propagation where one battery pouch heats up the next, heats up the next. So
it would isolate.
Yes, it would isolate it and then run in water like that. We have to find out how that responded. Did it respond properly? Did it not? What happened? We don't know, and I don't want to speculate. So, but that was the system.
Follow-up question. If Vistra was to want to go back online, which authority or oversight body would it have to go to just to get that permission?
Well, I don't want to get into what we're going to do there, but I will tell you the process is we work very closely with Chief Mendoza, North County Fire, Monterey County, and the CUPA also. There are water district, requirements and other state regulatory agencies.
I have one more question.
Brad, just so you know,
If I understand what you're saying, so if the batteries get hot, the water cools it down.
Yep.
What happens when they catch on fire? What are there systems to stop the flame?
That's what it's designed to do. That's what we have to get back in and determine what happened. Yeah. Thank you all. We got to go. Thank you.
Okay, so Brad Watson from Vistra Energy is speaking there, giving us some insight as to where we stand right now. If you are just joining us, we'll call it a flare-up, I think, is the big situation, because, you know, we learned yesterday that this fire is going to ebb and flow.
And we saw it all day yesterday, and we certainly saw it today. It looked, again, this morning as if we had sort of passed the worst part of it, and then again it flared up again just after noon to, frankly, the flames that we saw late yesterday afternoon.
So I want to talk a little bit about what Brad Watson was just talking about. I want to show you the image inside of 300. This is Moss 300. This is essentially the old turbine building from the old PG&E plant, which is converted to an ESS storage facility.
And every one of those is a battery.
Actually, every one of those is a giant stack of batteries.
Right.
So if you think like a server farm where they take all those, you know, servers and stack them up, it's the exact same thing. Here are the batteries that are in there. These batteries are manufactured by LG Chem, LG Electrical. Maybe you have an LG TV. Same company out of Korea that makes them. They have them all over the world right now. As of 2022, they were generating more than 2 billion gigawatts or something. I have the number here.
Storing.
Yes, storing. And so this is a standard. It's not experimental technology or anything. But go back to the last still, if you would. So what happens is that in these racks are stacks and stacks of those batteries. They sort of have grooves and they fit in. And then in each one of those runs a part of a suppression cooling system that uses
Which he was
water.
talking about.
That's exactly what he was talking about. So water is hooked up to these racks. And the problem that you have with lithium-ion batteries is that if they overheat, you have a problem. They are encased in sort of a thick plastic, okay? And inside that are the actual cells. If the cells overheat, they have a sensor. That sensor goes off in the control room to notify them. There is also a sensor that detects heat and turns on water to cool them.
Right.
And if they are cooled and taken immediately offline, if the water cools them, then you're okay. If they melt through the case and expose the core, then you have the potential for what he was talking about called thermal runaway. Thermal runaway is when the water that is already there interacts with the core of the battery and arcs, and that causes a fire.
Yeah.
And once thermal runaway, it's called thermal runaway because it runs away.
Runs away, and then it is that chain reaction.
So
with
then
all of those other batteries.
Then your problem, as it's been explained to me and all of us, is that the heat is your nightmare, because then all of a sudden you start to have melting cases. It generates a tremendous amount of heat, and you have melting cases, and then they expose cores, and the fuel in those racks, in those cores, then burns down until it's totally depleted.
Right.
But it can reignite, and there are stacks and stacks and stacks of these.
Right.
And so as the heat develops, that's why we get what we called last night the pulsing.
Right.
And
And again, what we saw today when the flare-up came.
absolutely. And you know, we talked with Chief Mendoza, North Monterey County Fire, at length earlier today, and we'll play it for you a little bit later. You know, at that particular point, he felt like, okay, we're good, you know.
Yeah.
But you never know. I mean, he was not fully committal, but the reality is that here you go. All you have to do is look at that picture. We had flames in between those trees and the plant a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Right now, we don't have any. We're all sitting here hoping we don't see any more flames.
But the reality is that all of the things you talked about, that whole system that Dan just laid out for us, it failed.
And it failed before as well, twice, in
Right.
2021 and 2022. However, the cooling system failed, and yet they were able to turn them off and stop the possibility of a thermal runaway.
Right. So the question is, and we heard that from,
That's exactly right.
from Brad Watson, what happened here?
Why did we reach thermal runaway? Boom, ignition, and off you go.
Right, and then, and you know, when lithium-ion batteries burn, when the battery is actually burning, that is the smoke that's coming out that is so toxic. You can't get away from it. If you burn a lithium-ion battery, you are going to release toxic chemicals.
And the one that we're most concerned about is called hydrofluoride. HF are the levels that they are monitoring right now. The EPA is on scene, as is the...
Vistra has their own monitors.
Vistra has, they say it's a company, but they happen to own the company that they've contracted with. And they are monitoring as well. Action News 8 reporter Felix Cortez has, of course, been covering this from the very beginning. Felix?
Well, Dan, Aaron, I think you were just watching this press conference that just wrapped up. Clearly, we were expecting more people, but we got State Assemblywoman Dawn Addis and, of course, the county supervisor who represents this area, Glenn Church. And the big takeaway from this press conference that wrapped up a short while ago is that both of them are asking that Vistra keep this plant shut down until we know what happened, what caused this fire, and how we move forward in terms of preventing something like this from happening again. And should it happen, how we can be better prepared. The gentleman, Brad Watson from Vistra, said this whole power, their whole power facility, power battery energy storage facility is currently offline. Nothing is online right now at this point. And he's reiterating the fact that this will remain offline until they can complete their, do a full investigation as to what happened and why their internal fire suppression system failed to put out this fire when it originally started. And he added that this system will not go online without proper notice and cooperation and in conjunction with working with county and local leaders out here in Moss Landing. So county, state leaders asking that this plant stay offline until everything can be investigated and we learn the why and the how and what's next.
We also heard Vistra say, we don't have any plans to put it back online. So right now. So, you know, I mean, it is what it is, but the pressing issue, I think, and the one that we're not getting real clear answers on is what's in that smoke right there.
Yeah. And that's where the real danger lies. Frankly, the fire is the fire. It is relatively contained. The issue is a health issue, an environmental issue, is what is in that smoke. When lithium-ion batteries burn, they do put off toxic chemicals, as Dan said, the most concerning hydrogen fluoride. I know more about hydrogen fluoride than I ever thought I would.
Hydrofluoride, yeah.
That's, you know, and where does it go? And at what point, if it dissipates enough in the atmosphere, does it...
Are we okay?
Are we okay? And I don't know that people, I talked to an immunologist earlier today, we'll hear from him a little bit later, and he said this is new technology. There's so much we don't know.
Right.
There's so much more research, even from a health standpoint, that needs to be done. So all of the data that hopefully is being collected throughout this incident hopefully will help them get a better handle on the health risks, because they have to be weighed when you're deciding whether and where to put in plants like this.
So, Felix, you know, let's talk a little bit about the two other incidents that happened at this particular plant. When they went back online, they went before the Board of Supervisors. You were there covering it when the second fire occurred, and it was a scenario where it actually worked. I mean, you know, there was some a bad scene. The water suppression system did not work in that scenario, but we didn't have thermal runaway and we did not have flames coming through the roof.
I remember that one, and yeah, and it may be. Well, keep in mind it was a different plant. That one was the PG&E.
No, that was 2022. This one. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So,
I just want to point out that
I don't know yeah.
Yeah, you.
And I don't. What we don't know is okay. So, what was the size and storage of the Vistra facility? Was it much bigger than the PG&E Tesla plant? Was it a better suppression system? Yeah.
Great question.
There's a couple of questions that may play into how that all played out.
In December of 2022, Vistra went before the Board of Supervisors, trying to reassure them after the second incident that happened at their plant. There was not thermal runaway in that second incident, and so what they did was they modeled, if you will, in computers what would happen if everything went bad. So this is a container fire with no internal suppression whatsoever and winds blowing close to 16 miles an hour, which is fairly rare for that particular location. About 7% they claimed a year. And they say that the reference exposure levels would have been well within guidelines in the vast majority of that area. There was only a small spot. That's what they claimed. Now this morning, we asked for their raw data from that model. And we asked them as well to give us a full summary after this so that we could compare whether this was worse than their worst case scenario model. And we're not going to know. We do know, however, that the EPA is on site.
Right. The EPA is on site. They have their own monitors, and they are monitoring that. Just to be clear, this is the flare-up that happened
earlier, yeah.
Just happened after noon today when we, thought that perhaps the fire had been handled, and then it flared up again. And again, that thick black plume of smoke shooting in the air, which is the concern. That is what the EPA and Vistra has its own monitors are monitoring to see what's in that smoke. What levels of chemicals are in that smoke and how it's dissipating.
And Felix, here's the other thing. That was black smoke that we saw.
You bring up the...
that was black smoke,
yeah,
and now we have white
talk
smoke.
About that.
I don't know which is different. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that, and then, I mean, we were here shortly after that press conference this morning, driving over here to the Incident Command Center because we were told the California Energy Commissioner was in town. We were coming over, and then obviously just outside of Moss Landing, south of here, is when we saw those flames and clearly what seemed to be a huge, another huge flare-up. And at that point I was describing on air that what I was seeing about an hour, 2 hours ago was clearly more, I mean, the flames, it was a more drastic scene than what we were seeing the night before. Clearly the flames were higher, the fire seemed to be more intense, is what I'm trying to say now than what I was seeing last night. And that huge plume of smoke, I mean, cameraman Tom Lopez, that thing is now clearly over the slough. It appears it's Prunedale, it's going towards the valley. So if there is that concern, then, maybe this advisory or this evacuation order needs to be extended beyond these perimeters, beyond these zones that they're talking about now. But Dan, Aaron, the thing that we hear over and over, and we just heard it again right now, is let's find out what happened, let's investigate this, and let's learn from this. But we were told today that this is the fourth fire. Did we not learn anything after the first one, after the second one, after the third one?
Right.
And you would think we would have learned something that we would not have I mean,
Yeah.
I can't fathom this. That 3 fires, we had plenty of time to learn something, but yet we still have this huge fire, and yet the biggest fire so far at what is now considered the world's largest battery storage facility in the world. And now we have one of the biggest problems.
And we'll see where it goes from here. Assemblymember Dawn Addis asked, that they stay offline until it can be guaranteed is safe. There's absolutely no possibility of a guarantee on anything, but obviously what they really want is to get as close to that as they can.
Close to that as possible, and to really understand why these systems failed, because clearly they failed. So they have to get some answers to that. Felix mentioned evacuations and advisories. I just want to go over this. There is an evacuation zone, of course, so we've talked a lot about this, right around that plant. Also an advisory to stay inside, close your doors, close your windows, shut off your air conditioning or any kind of ventilation system that brings in air from the outside. And that alert, Santa Cruz has put out that alert. Also, Monterey County, north of Marina and north of Bolsa Knolls. That advisory is in effect, and there is the evacuation area perimeter. It remains in effect. They roughly 1,200 to 1,500 people affected.
And the core questions that have not been answered that are of the most concern, I think, to people that are watching that live anywhere near this or certainly in the path of the plume is, what is the air quality there in terms of the amount of toxic chemicals, specifically hydrofluoride, and we're not getting those answers. We do know that Assembly Member Addis and Glenn Church were given some numbers in a briefing. They were shown video of the actual fire within the building when it started. We're certainly hopeful that they would brief the public, who has the most questions about their safety. And we're hoping with our deepest hearts that we could get some information about air quality from someone real soon. And so that is our status right now. The flare-up appears to have again subsided. The question remains,
Will it flare up again?
Yeah. So we will see. We're gonna take a break. If it flares up again, we'll be back on, and we'll certainly be here on Action News 8 at 5, the very latest, anytime though.
Anytime online at KSBW.com, as well as on our KSBW app.